The Great Song to Mani. My Buddha Mani. O teacher of the original doctrine of the noble Jesus. We are here to worship and revere you. O my respected and famous Father, my Buddha Mani. We are here alone to worship you from our heart of humility. Be our hope and refuge and receive the worship of each one of us. Before you we bow with internal faith. May each of our prayers be pure. You told us the consequences of evil, you blocked the road to hell, preaching good laws. You rescued 8 kinds of suffering beings in poisonous savage animals. Unendingly submerged in the dust of forgetting rebirths and in a state of poisonous savage animals, they were always mad. When the passion of greed poisoned them and they were dying, you prepared a medicine for them from the herb of meditation. You freed from ignorance and gave wisdom. They raved in the passion of anger, they lacked sense or coherent thought and you assembled their thoughts, and so they understood their origin in the realm of light. Those living beings in the 5 states of existence you freed from ignorance and gave them wisdom, leading them to nirvana. Many differing passions, hatred and bitterness, troubled these thinking beings and scattered their thought. But Holy Father, when you descended from the sky, the families of all thinking beings reached the peace of nirvana. You rescued from samsara. We who are miserable and with no hope would have stayed in the torture of samsara, not finding the end of your path. You set up the ladder of wisdom, you let us supersede the 5 forms of being, and you delivered us. We who were fettered in suffering were rescued from rebirth to see the Buddha-like Sun God who is like you. For those tied to transitory pleasure, you preached the true law. You carried them across the sea of suffering to the good nirvana. For those tied to the root of attachment to the world, you revealed the road to the realm of the Buddhas. You raised a Sumayu mountain of virtue, you let them find endless happiness. For those plunged in the water of pride, you showed the bridge of the true law. You took understanding of the good law into their hearts. You entrusted them to the holy assembly. For those confused by the 6 organs of perception you showed the rising and falling states of being. You revealed what is the suffering of those in the abyss, the deepest Buddhist hell. You let them be reborn in the blessed 5-fold heaven of light. Look for the ways of salvation, you crossed lands going to every side. When you found humans needing salvation, you rescued all. You preached the jewel of the gospel. To those like us who were lazy, you preached details of the jewel of the gospel book. We come on the ways of freedom and salvation when we know them in the book. If you hadn't preached the pure law so fully, wouldn't the world and its thinking beings have come to an end by now? After the 4 Buddhas you went down and attained truly incomparable Buddhahood. You saved thousands and saved them from dark hell. You purged them of masterly cunning and deception and caused them to help others. You were a guide leading those in error. You saved them from the claws of evil Mara. You rescued the malevolent, you healed the blind, you caused them to do works of honor, you showed them the right path to the land of the gods, you were born the hope and refuge of the world. You taught the 7 precious books and held back those about to join evil. You do good to all. Walking on foot and calling your name, praising you with their tongues, they would all love the same as children who love their mothers and fathers. Hugging them with your compassionate heart, you brought them great help and prosperity. Not distinguishing between relative and stranger, you made them yours. You counseled numberless people. With your heart you do good to all, and through your good the afflicted overcome their sorrow. You brought them great help and prosperity in this way always. Because of your virtue you come into full Buddhahood. Through your insuperable tongue and generosity you gave the jewel of the good law to us the miserable. The families of the living lost their minds through their dark passions, yet they were reborn. You embrace everyone. Through your great and compassionate heart you put your arms around everyone and rescued them from the cycle of rebirth, saving them from samsara. The blessed of pure heart slowly came upon insight, overcame malevolence, and came to the statue of the arhats. But pleasure, tying them to the world, gave them mastery of cunning and trickery. You brought them help and prosperity. For those who forgot their origin, you revealed who you are, changing your form. When all living beings saw your revelation, they were inspired and desired only to escape from the suffering of cyclical samsara. To children you came in a benevolent form and turned them from evil and love of the world, to which they had succumbed. Before the blue sky of the whole kingdom you were born as the Buddha god of teachers. Knowledge shines, compassion grows. On seeing you, the living were happy and with firm minds no longer doubted. They obeyed your commandments. Their good thoughts increased every day and shone like the sun god. The knowledge of light shone. In their hearts compassion grew. They obeyed the commandment to be sinless and escaped the unending burning fires of hell. They tried to keep the true law, observe the true commandment, and not fall into impure sin. After knowing the transience of the body, they left their houses and homes. Following the good law, they were pure in body. They made every effort to follow pure laws and avoid the dangerous places. To be reborn in the palace of immortality, they observed the commandment to be pure in mouth. They prayed for blessing and to walk along the road of blessing and escape terrible samsara. They followed the commandment of blessed poverty. In fear of the perceived transitory doctrines and of the three evil ways, they followed the three seals to be reborn in the highest place. Gather, meditate, sing. You agreed to command them, to praise and sing songs, to repeal their evil, to gather and meditate. The living had been confused, but when they heard your command, their virtue was a teeming stream and river, and they were reborn in the land of the Buddhas. Other unworldly people walked in pure paths and meditated and were reborn in the palace of immortality. We bow our heads and we worship before you, our highest God. May the living on earth be forever reborn in nirvana. We worship. Our heart is steady. May all the living on earth escape dangers. May they find the peace of nirvana. So through the virtue of our praise and worship may all holy forces of the gods above and below and of the diverse spirits be magnified.